So, where do we start with this one? I guess I'll start by saying that this game is an educational game. Yeah, it's pretty much doomed from the start, isn't it? Well, I guess that's not being fair. There's a good educational game out there somewhere, right? Right? Ah, crap. Anyway, Bronkie is also doomed from the start because the game doesn't know what to call itself. The one opening screen calls it Bronkie's Health Hero, which is what I'm basing the title on, but if you look at a Wikipedia entry, it says the official name is Bronkie The Bronchiasaurus. What the hell? And to further the confusion, the menu screen just calls the game Bronkie. How hard is it to go through the options and just pick one consistent title? Anyway, the title of the game and the educational genre are the least of our worries. In fact, I haven't even touched upon the story yet. It regards meteors striking Sansari and causing dust to be caked all over the place. Before I proceed, the game calls it a filthy dust. Well, that must mean that there's a clean dust too. I'd love to see that. In any case, someone, probably the cavemen, created a huge wind machine that cleans the air. If these builders were so smart, then why wasn't the intelligence passed on right away? Anyway, some Mr. Rexo stole the machine and dismantled it. This dude must have been huge to take a machine and break it down. Yeah, he looks like a T-Rex, and he probably is, but this machine's gotta be pretty big to clear out all the air. In any case, it's up to Bronkie and Trachey to find the pieces. How did these two get the short end of the stick? And why would you choose two dinos with asthma anyway? So, before each stage actually starts, you get a small tutorial on asthma, whether it be in the form of medicine you would need to take or just general knowledge. I'd say that you can skip these things, but the game does ask you questions at checkpoints in the stage, and you need to pass them in order to proceed. If you get one wrong, they'll force you to go back and find the teacher so that she can scold you for not paying attention. The thing about these screens is that it's a little disturbing to me, because when Trachey is showing you how to use the inhaler, he looks a little bit stoned. Look at him. Oh yeah, man. This asthma isn't too bad, man. Yeah, that's the stuff. And then he winks. Yeah, he knows that he's not just using a regular inhaler. There's some sort of special stuff in it to help him breathe. And I think I would need that special stuff in order to actually like this game. Perhaps I'm talking too much about the asthma portions of the game, but that's what it centers on. You may be wondering about the actual gameplay. Well, take a look. This is a freaking SNES game. The graphics look like something out of an NES game, if that. They're dull looking and lack real variety in the color scheme. Sadly, the first few levels in the city are the best looking I've seen. There's still way too many rock colored backgrounds though. I get they're trying to go for the whole prehistoric look, but there's other games out there that look a hell of a lot better than this one. And what about the level of detail in the characters? Granted, the two main characters look okay, but the same can't be said for the enemies. In fact, most of them are just painted one or two colors and horribly misshapen. Was this intentional, or did the designers just not know how to draw? Even if the odd shapes were intentional, the animations are seriously missing. Look at this guy that does the cartoon running in place kind of look. Seriously? This looks awful. As for the action, it's just mind-numbing run around looking for wind machine pieces and smacking enemies with... What the fuck is that? I can't even figure it out. I get so upset trying to figure out what your weapon is I try looking up the manual with no success at all. There's not even any FAQ available on GameFAQ.com for it either. And wait, how much is this game going for? $280! What? Is that game this rare? Well, apparently it was never sold commercially. Doctors would hand it out to you, or you would have to mail in for it. Well, given the effort needed for this game, I'll pass. So, anyway, if anyone could tell me what the fuck that stick he's holding is, I'd appreciate it. I'm not so sure I can sleep until I know. You also have a second weapon that's just really a huge puff of air. It has the same range as your stick, but uses up a lung power, or whatever the hell that thing you collect is. Sure, it may kill enemies that take a few hits in one blast, but enemies are typically dumb enough that you can smack them enough times before bothering to suck up the air to do the attack. Besides, is this really a bright move when you have freaking asthma? Wouldn't that cause some sort of catastrophic asthma attack? Anyway, as you travel each stage, you have to collect medicine and inhalers to keep your health at maximum. You also need to avoid the characters with colds and the asthma triggers that are conveniently explained to you before each stage. If you hit a trigger, the game will darken a bit and you need to enter the menu to use an inhaler, provided that you found it in that stage. If you get a cold, you use the medicine. Technically, I found no real penalty to this other than the end of stage score. Your character will occasionally sneeze, preventing you from doing anything for a second. The only real disadvantage I really found is that if you finish the stage in perfect health, and with all of the inhalers and medicines, you get an extra life. Maximum lives is an oddly numbered 6 though. This also reminds me that the health bar can be a bit confusing until you figure it out. Basically, each one of these green eggs stands for a life. The one on the far right also acts as a health meter. As you get hit, the meter will slowly drain. It's hard to figure out simply just because the first few hits don't seem to drain from the meter at all. Once you start taking noticeable damage, then you realize, hey, that's also my health. But what is that green circle supposed to be on the far left? It'll turn yellow if you get a cold and don't cure it, but I have yet to figure out what the hell it's actually supposed to be. These things have the potential to make the game interesting, but due to everything being so drab, the game is just plain boring to play. The enemies don't really give any sort of threat, and sadly, neither do the bosses. In fact, this rhino boss just kind of takes the punishment and dies quickly. It's just so dull. In addition, the game has an odd theory for your character's asthma triggers. Say you find the inhaler medicine in the stage, but you have no need to use it. Fine, you hit the end of the level, and it disappears for you to recollect in the next stage. Now let's say your character gets a cold, and you collect the medicine again, but decide not to use it for whatever reason. That's fine. The next stage, the medicine is good, but the cold isn't. You're actually penalized because you didn't take care of the issue by keeping the ailment, but losing the medicine. That's right, when you end a stage, you lose the medicine or inhaler, but not the ailment. Oh yeah, because that's totally fair. Especially when the end of the stages often creep up on you suddenly. What if maybe you're waiting till the end of the stage to use it so that you don't accidentally heal yourself just to get sick again? Well, you're just fucked, because the game doesn't think that way. In any case, the game is way too easy up until the boss of the 4th level, the canyon. You face off against, I guess it's supposed to be a woolly mammoth. Every time you attempt to hit it, it'll ram you, normally causing you to plummet off into the deadly air. After a few attempts, I eventually just gave up. I just couldn't care anymore. All I could say is that that bottom platform is just not nearly long enough. If you lose all of your lives, you have to start back at the beginning of the stage. I think there's unlimited continues, but there's only so much drabness I can handle before completely going out of my mind. And what's this? When you hit no to continue, the credits scroll. This is a cruel joke, right? I don't want to play anymore, so you're going to show me who's responsible for creating this awful game? Not to mention there's a whole page dedicated to doctors that gave advice to the creators of the game. Well, at least they consulted with professionals about the asthma, so maybe they should have done the same on how to make a good game. Finally, after every boss you're taken to a screen where you see the parts you've accumulated on the wind machine. Oddly enough, it only shows what you found, not just what was obtained by previous stages. So it looks like there's always pieces missing. And what the hell is that thing? A mutant caterpillar? I guess I'm glad I'm not going to have to fight that ugly thing. The sad thing is that this isn't the only educational game developed by Rhea Systems. We also have Packy and Marlin, a game about diabetes. Captain Novelin is also about diabetes, but focuses more on the insulin part. Finally, we have Rex Ronan, Experimental Surgeon, a game about the dangers of smoking. Maybe when I decide to come around to these games, I'll do them all as a set, but for now, I've had enough fun with Bronkie and Trachea. Here's the truth though. If you have asthma and want to learn more about it, just go ask your doctor. You can probably think of better things to do that are more fun while sitting for an hour in the waiting room than playing through a few hours of this horrible atrocity of a game. And that's the truth. But before I give you my score, let me just reiterate that I've played worse games than this. As easy and dull as it may be, it's still technically playable, to a point. Maybe I'm just missing something on that mammoth boss, but maybe it does get better. But who the hell knows, and I don't really care. But at least the game works, and for that, I congratulate it. Final score? 5 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.